Okay, we're going to talk about a little bit of a mystery here about this particular photo. It's not a great photo. You can see that there's some damage. It looks like some water damage up here. But you can see actually that the pictures of the people, they're pretty clear. And actually, if I blew these up, it would be, I could have pretty good images to use on software programs or something like that. It's also possible to Photoshop the photo and then share it with relatives later on. But what I wanted to talk about actually are the annotations on the back. And there's two sets of annotations and a little bit of a mystery, and I'll explain what it is. So the annotation, you can see something talking in the 1915, it looks like that could be an October or a number, 16, 17. I can't read that right there. You can also see on the right side, it says Olcott Beach. Somebody later on added another annotation. Grandpa Mary, Hughie, Ma, Marge, Catherine, something Hughie, and then Sue. So we have some annotations here. We have a date here. We have the location. Olcott Beach is on the shores of Lake Ontario, southern shore. And we have these people. And there's a little bit of a mystery about who all the names are, because you can see that there are 1, 2, 3, 4 names here, but there's 5 people. So it's really important to try to identify the people in a photograph, if you can. Obviously, that's important. Some of the names are there, but there's also a date and one thing that and a place. And one thing I wanted to do was to check with my father about his mother and his grandmother, just to find some more details, just to confirm that this is actually my grandmother and my great-grandmother, and who these other people are as well. So I showed this photo to my father, and he said, yeah, that's my mother, that's my grandmother, at about age 7 or 8, maybe a little bit younger, and that's her mother, and that the photo actually matches up with other photos we have of her. And then he said, this is probably Aunt Catherine. This is my grandmother's older sister. He wasn't sure who this is, and he wasn't sure who that is. The other thing he said about this photo is the date is probably wrong, because she was born, my grandmother was born around 1912. And if this photo is in 1915, then she would be 3 years old. And she's not 3 years old. She's clearly older than that, probably at least 5 or 6 years old. So we now think this photo was probably later than 1915. Also, we can tell Catherine, because Catherine was not 8 years old. She was born in 1907. So this photo, her age is obviously older than 8 years old. She looks like she's a tween. So this could be as late as 1920. The other thing is that he doesn't recognize this little girl at all, and he remarked, and my wife said this as well, that the photos of the little girl look actually kind of rough. It's like a burlap, homemade clothing for sure. We're not sure if this is basically her mother-in-law. We have one other photo of the great-grandmother, and the photo actually doesn't look anything like her. So we think that this is a misidentification. We're not sure who this lady is. We're not sure of who this little girl is, possibly another relative of this lady, but it's something to be determined. One thing I will do is to probably do another annotation here, noting that this date 1915 is likely wrong. And then some more information that my father remembered. And, this kind of points to the fact that if you have a relative who's old enough to remember at least one person in an old photo, that is really, really important, because they can give much more context to the family. They often knew them personally. They can maybe identify the people who were closer to them, even if they never met them. But that's really important information. And I always urge, the best source of genealogy information is not Ancestry or Family Search. It's the people especially the older relatives, who can give so much information and context about an old photo like this. Let me know what you think in the comments.